Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to go over how to properly use the formula triangle because I know that's probably a struggle just by watching the PowerPoint. So let's talk about it for a minute. So the formula triangle is basically a triangle you can put any formula in. And you're going to, when you set it up, you're just going to do what I did. Draw a triangle, divide the base between the top portion, and then divide the base in again. So these are where you put your variables from the formula, and the one we're concerned with right now is force is equal to mass times acceleration, or F is equal to M times A. Okay, so when you put something in your formula triangle, the first thing you want to make sure of is that anything that is multiplied in the formula goes into the bottom two, and anything that would be divided would go into this part of the triangle, the top and this part. So we're going to put a division sign here because this line separates the top from the bottom, and that would indicate you would have to divide to calculate. All right, so in our formula we have force is equal to mass times acceleration. So mass is times acceleration. These two are what are going to go in the bottom because it states in the formula they are multiplied. That leaves this area up top to put force. Now, if we are calculating for mass times acceleration, obviously all we have to do here is multiply. But what if we are calculating to figure out the mass of an object? Well, in that instance, if you're calculating for mass, you would need to hold your finger over the M, and it says force divided by acceleration. So if you would have the force and you would divide it by the acceleration. What if you're calculating for acceleration? Well, hold your finger over acceleration, and it tells you you're going to take force and divide by mass. So that's basically how to manipulate this triangle. You can put any formula in it you need to, as long as you only have the three variables. Then you can plug them in there and then follow my lead like I did. Whatever you're calculating for, cover it up. Then it leaves the information on what to do, right? So whatever you need to calculate for, that's the variable you cover up to see what operation you need to do. All right, let's do some practice. And I wanted to practice with you first on one of the assignments you have today, which is the force, mass, acceleration coloring sheet number 1. Wanted to do a couple of problems from that just so you have an idea of how to do it. And remember, for these activities you can use your calculator because calculators are permitted on these calculations. All right, so we're going to do the first one together, this one, and it says if a 60 kilogram person on a 15 kilogram sled is pushed with a force of 300 newtons, what will the person's acceleration be? All right, so what do we have? Let's write down what we have. We have mass, because the mass of the person is 60 kilograms. That's their mass, their weight. But the sled also has a weight of 15 kilograms. So because he's riding on the sled, we're going to add these up because they're now, if you want to know how much the total mass is, you have to add them. So we have 75 kilograms. So the mass is equal to 75 kilograms in this problem. That was step 1 for problem number 1. And we know that they are being pushed with a force of 300 newtons, right? So what we don't know is what is the acceleration. All right, so let's start by covering up acceleration. it tells me I need to have a force and divide that by the mass. So the force is 300 newtons, because forces are always measured in newtons, divided by a mass of, or over 75 kilograms. So now I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to use my calculator so that I can calculate this without having any problems. So we have, clear that. So we have a force, we said, is divided by the mass. So we have 300 divided by 75, which is equal to 4. Okay, so the mass is going to be equal to 4. Oh, sorry, acceleration. That was mass. So the acceleration is equal to 4. Acceleration is in general in meters per second squared, and we're going to talk about that more, but our answer is going to be 4, and meters per second squared is going to be our answer choice. So this was problem number 1 on your coloring sheet. I looked through it and I found another one that's quite difficult, so I thought I'd talk you through that as well. It's problem number 6. So let's look at problem number 6. Problem number 6 states a 5 kilogram block is pulled across a table by a horizontal force of 40 newtons with a frictional force of 8 newtons opposing the motion. Calculate the acceleration of the object. All right, so we have a mass given. All right, y'all saw that, right? That problem I just did, number 6. So we have a mass which is equal to 5 kilograms. And we have a force which is equal to 40 newtons pulling on the mass. But we also have an opposing force of 8 newtons. So remember, when forces or arrows are operating in opposite direction, this would be the same as saying somebody's pulling this way with 40 newtons of force, and somebody's tugging this way, which would be the friction with 8 newtons. You know, when they're going in opposite directions, you have to subtract. So we're going to do that. 40 minus 8 gives us 32. So the total force acting on the object on number 6 is not 40 newtons, but 32 newtons. Okay? So now we have our force and our mass. We know we're calculating the same thing. So we're going to go back to our formula triangle, hold our finger over the one we're missing, acceleration, and it's telling us force divided by mass. So we're going to set it up. So in order to calculate for acceleration, we need force, which is 32 newtons, divided by mass, which is 5 kilograms. And we're going to use our trusted calculator once again. So we have 32, can y'all see that? Divided by, I can't see, 5. And we come up with 6.4 for an acceleration is equal to 6.4 meters per second squared is the unit. So I think now we've calculated two, number 1 and 6, both were for acceleration, right? So both had acceleration as their answers. Let me see if I can find another one that calculates something different. Let's do number 7, just because it's right there in front of me. Let's do number 7. All right, number 7. A 50-kilogram skater pushed by a friend accelerates 5 meters per second squared. So 50 kilograms, that's the mass. Skater weighs 50 kilograms. And they pushed by a friend, the person accelerates 5 meters per second squared. That's how fast they're moving. And obviously we need what unit? We don't have the force. Okay, calculating force is easy, we determined, because then we already know, even from the formula, you multiply mass times acceleration. So we just need to set it up. 50 times 5 is going to give us the force. So we're going to use our calculator again. And 50 times 5 equals 250. So force is equal to 250. And remember, force is always in newtons. So my answer for that would be 250 newtons. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. And if you have any problems with using the formula triangle or doing calculations, let me know. See ya.